All right, hello everyone. Today, what I'm going to try to do is just do a very basic video on how to get Blender and the Workbench set up, kind of talking to each other, we'll say, to where I don't need to go over this in all the other videos that I'm going to be trying to do with Blender and the Workbench. This is not going to be a how to use Blender and how to make something. This is just going to be a getting Blender set up, getting the Workbench set up, and showing you a couple things of kind of workflow and getting things exported to the Workbench. So my goal is to try to get other videos made in the future, and this will kind of be the foundation instead of me having to go over it every time. So to get started, we're going to be looking at what Bohemia is saying on what to do with this. So when it comes to Blender, they are telling us to use the 4.2 LTS version. You can try using a newer version if you want. I was using it for a little while. Not to say I had problems because of it, but it was recommended to me that you want to use what they're telling you to use. So I kind of backtracked back to this version here. So I'll try to link this website. You can click here and it should bring you to the install for it. So once you get Blender installed, we're going to now look at also the Workbench. So in Steam, if you haven't done this already, you want the Arma Reforger tools. And if you don't see the option to install that, make sure you filter to where tools are showing on your list, and you should see the option to download this. So let's go and open up tools. And assuming this is brand new to you, what you're going to do is hit add new project, create new project. So one thing I want to note here is my projects automatically default to a OneDrive directory. I don't use OneDrive. It auto installed when I installed Windows. Do not use your project in a OneDrive directory. What I would actually recommend is, at a minimum, having it in a C directory, just like C Arma, like it'd be C:/Arma map, Arma mods, whatever you want to name it. Just get it out of that OneDrive. It is even recommended to have it on a separate drive. Once I put my stuff on a separate drive, a D drive, my issues with publishing went down substantially. So just keep it in mind. Okay. So get it out of there. Don't save there. All right. So, you're going to type in your project name. You can use spaces here. I'm in the habit because other places in the Workbench do not like spaces. I use underscores. So you'll see some of these things have underscores. Just a habit I'm in, but here you can use a space. So then you're going to hit create. I've already done this, so I am going to open my project. And then let it load up. And we are going to look at our options here. So in the Workbench, and we're going to kind of follow along with the tutorial here. All right, so we've already downloaded Blender. We've downloaded Reforger tools. And then we are now going to be setting up the Net API and getting the add-on installed over into Blender. Very, very easy, super easy. So in the Workbench here, you will want to make sure that you have this check marked, and the port 5775 should be default. I believe that's what they even have. That's what they have here. Oh, that's funny. They don't even say it. But whatever the default is, leave it as default. If you don't have it, just change it to this. The most important thing is that when it's in Blender, the port numbers match. So one more thing while we're in here, what I would recommend in, where is it at? World Editor. Go into your undo steps and change your undo steps as high as you can. I don't know if this is the max, but that's what I put it at. The more undo steps you have, the better chance you have to undo a mistake you did. Trust me, sometimes, if it's defaulted, let's say like 25 steps, you get 30 steps in, you're like, yeah, I don't like that, but you can't undo past 25. So give yourself as much room for error, because trust me, you will need it. And then another thing I recommend is in shortcuts, go to, I will have to find it. What do? I do control, exit. There we go. Exit play mode. So when you're in the workbench and you are testing out your world, you are testing to see what your project looks like from Blender. You want to exit the play session and you hit escape. It just kind of screws with you a little bit. So I use Control Shift Delete. So that way I purposely am closing my play session that I am testing with. So I would recommend at a minimum changing that. There's even others you can change, but that's the only one I've changed right now. All right, so I believe that is everything in here. We're going to leave this open because when you're messing with stuff in Blender and you are wanting to use the Workbench add-on, you need the Workbench open to use the add-on properly. So what I will say is that if you are making something in Blender and you're not going to be exporting it or doing anything with the add-on, you can close the Workbench. The Workbench sometimes will eat up some of your RAM. So if you kind of have a lower grade computer or you only have like 16 gigs of RAM, I would actually recommend closing the Workbench until you're at the point where you need it open. It just save you a little bit of a headache. So you're going to open up Blender. It's going to look like this unless you have a newer version. I believe it's a snowman. All right. Let's go ahead and go into the preferences for Blender. So let's start with the add-on for the Workbench. So you're going to see other add-ons I have. Just ignore those for right now. You can check some of those out later on. But what we're going to be adding is the infusion tools. So you won't see this yet, but this is what we're going to add to your Blender program. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Steam. We're going to right click on the Armor Reforger tools, go to Manage and then Browse Local Files. And then you will see a Blender folder. Do not unzip this. You're just going to leave this kind of off to the side. I'm going to go back into Blender now. Go to its add-ons. So you're going to have this. You're going to have this list here. Go back to that folder, and you are going to click and drag the zip file over. Leave everything here default. And then you are going to hit OK. I'm going to hit cancel because I've already done this. And then what I would recommend doing is make sure it is in here. So you got Infusion Tools. Everything in here should be set up properly. Let's confirm our port number 5775. We can go back to the Workbench if you want to confirm that. Port 5775. All right, so that's good. And then where is it? Is saying the export profiles folder. You know, this might actually be just for animations. I don't plan on doing those anytime soon myself, but I believe that is what it is talking about here. So then again, this should have already come up as default. Same with the material conversion table. That I do believe we want to make sure, because when you are messing with like textures and stuff like that, or what a collider is, here it is. it's going to give the right material. Like when you shoot concrete, it's going to burst out with concrete. I think that is what that handles. So again, that you shouldn't really have to change much on here. Export profiles folder. All right, so yeah, it looks like this is if you're using the TXA exporter. I'm not sure what that is, so we're just going to leave that be for right now, because we're going to be, when we export, we're going to choose what folder we go into. So let's go to system now. So you are set up to where the Blender and the Workbench are going to talk to each other. These next couple of things I'm going to show you are optional, but I do recommend them. We are actually going to come into system, and then we are going to locate our undo steps. Default is 32. Believe me when I say you will need more than 32 undo steps. So we're going to click and drag this to the max, which is 256. Or what you can do is you can just click on it and key in 256. So max that out. We're going to come up to our cycles render devices, and I am on a AMD graphics card. So I am choosing my graphics card under HIP. If you have a NVIDIA card, you are probably going to be in either optics or CUDA. I'm not sure which of these two are better. Something I watched said they're kind of similar. The key thing here is that you want it to be the graphics card. I don't believe you want to use the processor. I may be wrong, but what I have heard is the processor, pretty much no matter what you have, unless your graphics card is just complete garbage, very outdated, and your processor is significantly better, you want to use the processor. But what I'm told, you want to stick with just the graphics card and graphics card only. Do not do both of them. Just stick with the graphics card. That'll get you faster results. You can do what you want, but it's going to work better if you have the graphics card. Make sure your undo steps down here match what we did over here. And just make sure it's 256. So to recap, I have Radeon, so I'm using this. Graphics card only. Undo steps 256. If you have NVIDIA, you will have to research which of these two you will want to use. All right, I do believe that is everything here. So we can hit X. And now we want to save. Because if we don't save, it might not actually save everything we just changed in the preferences. I've had that issue. So what I would recommend doing is making a folder that you're going to dedicate to your Blender projects. So I have one here on my D drive, literally called Blender Projects. So go in here. I have one for tutorials. What I have been doing is if I get a object from a website, I want to remember where I pulled that object from. So I make a folder for that website or however I obtain that object. If it's one I make myself, I have one I called mine. So that way I can just keep track and give credit where credit's due for certain objects. So we're going to go to tutorials, and we're just going to call this YouTube or YT tutorial, and we are going to hit save. So go back into the save as, and I would make a bookmark for that folder or whatever folder you want to have quick access to. If your project folder is deep in several folders, I would definitely recommend this. So you just go to the folder, hit the plus symbol, and there you go. It adds it as a bookmark. I highly recommend you make these bookmark folders. So we can exit off of that. Let's see. So we have our preferences set up. We have the Workbench open, ready to go. So let's look at what we installed with the add-on. So again, assuming your knowledge is next to none, or it's on the lower end and you're still very new to this, which I still am, I am still learning a lot of this myself as I go. You're going to be on the layout tab here. There's this little arrow pointing left. If you click on that and ignore everything I have here, what we are looking for is Infusion Tools. And if you don't see that, or you're having a hard time opening it, if you hit the letter N on the keyboard, then this will pop up. So I'm just going to briefly go over what some of these are. So the model quality assurance is essentially what it says. If you look at this list here, these are different things that you will be making when you have an actual object. So let's just say this cube on screen, right? Let's just say that's the object I'm going to be making. We're going to need an LOD, or we're actually probably need several LODs, which are levels of detail. They are how the model looks and renders at certain distances. Portals, portal volume, those are for structures. Box volume, BSP, those are also for structures. And a collider. Most everything you're going to make is going to have a collider. So what it is that if I click on, let's just say LOD, and I am testing this cube, right? I have this cube selected, and I hit LOD, and I want to see if this is set up properly as an LOD. Turn on your overlay. You should see it over here. And then you don't need to focus next. I like to click it just because it kind of confirms that I'm doing what I'm doing. So if you click on your screen, go to edit mode, and if there's anything that fails in it, then it'll tell you, or should tell you, why it failed. And that's a whole different topic of how to fix what it fails. So let's see if it's set up properly as a portal. That's going to be so funny if this thing is... All right. Man, this cube's just perfect. Let's see. Nope, it's not filling anything right now. So I'm wasting time doing that. So you can go through here, see if your object, whatever it is you're trying to make, passes the Infusion Tools quality assurance. What I will say is that I have objects that have failed in Blender, but when they imported into the Workbench, they did not give an error. You still need to make sure it passes the quality assurance in the tools in Blender. So do make sure, especially when you get into structures, doing buildings, that it passes all that stuff. So object tools. So this is fixing suffixes. Suffixes are if you have something like this where it's a period. Because if you, I'm going to show you real quick. When you duplicate things, it adds these names to it, and you will do a lot of duplicating depending on what you're doing. So if you come into here, you choose all objects, it's going to do everything on this list. If you hit fix suffixes, it'll change it to how the Workbench wants it, because the Workbench does not want a .001 or anything like that. It wants it underscores, kind of like I mentioned earlier. I've not messed with sort objects, so I'm not going to touch base on that. It could be beneficial. Maybe I'll look into that later on. Material tools. So just kind of ignore what I'm doing real quick. Sure. This is a part of when you need the Workbench open. When you're doing a collider, you need the Workbench open because it's going to pull a list of materials. So this is set up as a collider now. So we do collider setup, and this is the material. These different materials are mostly self-explanatory. So let's just say we go to, where is it? Concrete. So a material, when you shoot the material, and mind you, if it's set up properly, of concrete, what's going to happen when you shoot concrete in real life? It's going to splatter concrete debris, dust, stuff like that. The game does that as well, right? So if the item is going to be made of concrete or a texture of concrete, you want to choose its material as concrete. The difference with these is that it's the thickness. Is the concrete 100 millimeters thick? Is it at least 100 millimeters thick? And then later on, I believe in the workbench, I've not messed with this a whole lot, so don't hold me to this, but in the workbench, I believe you can change the thickness of the concrete. So if it's, let's just say you want that concrete to act like it's 200 millimeters thick, you can use 100 millimeters minimum, and then in the workbench, if you need to, update it to 200. A little bit of an extreme example, but that's what these different things mean. The layer preset, self-explanatory, but not self-explanatory. So what these are going to do is your item going to be simply a structure? Is it going to be a structure that you don't want to have nav mesh? Is it, fire view, no nav mesh. So is it a structure that you want, I believe the fire is, what's the best way to say it? When you shoot at it, do you want it to show the bullet holes, or do you want it to be shot through? Well, it's a building, so you want it to take the round. You want it to show the bullet hole. And then view, I believe view is the AI being able to see through the structure, such as like windows and stuff like that. Again, I'm probably not explaining that great. I didn't really intend on going this deep into this stuff, but it's just happening. So, and then no nav mesh. Do you want there to not be nav mesh with that structure? So all these different things have purposes. I don't know what they all are. This is essentially, if you have, let's just say you're making a house, this is what you're doing with most of the colliders. Again, these are colliders for that structure. Okay. So you would do okay. So let's just say we did concrete presets, building fire view. You hit okay. It's going to create a new part of the collection. It's going to assign it materials, and it's going to do all this here. All right. Light setup, I've not messed with a whole lot. Update materials. So if you change the materials, like you did, or like you assigned for this collider, I've not done this a whole lot, but I believe if you find the path of the XOB in the workbench, you can update the materials from there. The ambient occlusion factor, I've not messed with. So going into portal tools, this is specifically, to the best of my knowledge, for a structure, a building, a house, stuff like that. That's a whole different topic. I will be trying to make a video on doing a building, but that I'll cover this stuff at that time. And then you have a quick export. So if you have the directory set up properly, you can do a quick export. I don't do that. I'm going to show you the way that I was shown. So we've gone over opening up the workbench, getting it installed, getting Blender set up with preferences, and now we just went over the infusion tools and a very basic rundown of what these items are. So what I want to show you now is a couple shortcuts that I was shown that I would like to get out there as well. So let's just say this cube is set up 100%, right? It's not, but let's just assume I've got this perfect. I could do it. It would take 2 seconds, but it just would defeat the purpose of what I'm trying to do in this tutorial. So assuming this cube And I'm going to delete these other ones here, so give me a second. Delete hierarchy, delete that, delete that. So let's just assume this cube is 100% ready to go. You have your LEDs, you have your collider, you have everything you need, you have materials assigned, you've UV unwrapped it, you've done everything and it's ready to go. You're going to go into File, or actually, I'm sorry. You're going to select what you want to be exporting. You're going to go to File, Export. Do not click on FBX, but we're going to scroll down to FBX and we're going to right click and we are going to assign a shortcut. And what I was told is use Q. So if we come back in, we can hit Q and boom, there is our export. It saves us from having to go those extra clicks because trust me, when you get deep into this, you're going to be exporting super fast. You're going to be troubleshooting and those few seconds it takes its toll when you're really getting deep into this. So now that you have your shortcut assigned, what we're going to do is, again, we're going to act like this is all good to go. We've got everything selected. You're going to be in object mode. You're going to hit Q. You're going to hit export FBX. And now there's a couple ways to do this and where you're going to export to. So actually what I want to show you first is how to save a preset of export. So there are presets here and I have one already called Arma, but I'm going to show you how to make that. So what you want is selected objects. You are going to click once on empty. You're going to hold down shift. Oh, that's caps lock. You're going to hold down shift and you're going to select armature, mesh, other, let go of shift, hit custom properties. You are going to make sure apply modifiers is checkmarked. I believe everything else here is good to go. We are going to turn off add leaf bones and we're going to turn off animation. These are going to be objects. These are not going to be animations. So if you're doing animations, this may be different. So please understand that. This is for objects. So I'm going to take one more look. Empty, custom properties. Yeah, that should all be good. All right. So we are going to come up here. Oh, nope. We're actually going to click the plus sign. So we're going to hit plus, give it a name. So I'm just going to name this Arma_YouTube and hit OK. And now you have a preset. So if we change this, let's just say I'm changing all these different things, whatever. This is all random. And I go to my preset. Boom, there it is. Everything's ready to go. So one thing I want to say real fast, because I did forget, the object should be facing a certain direction. And what made me think about this was seeing this here. I believe the front of the object should be facing Y positive. If I'm wrong on that, I will correct it in the comments below or the description below. However, I'm pretty sure the object should be facing Y positive. So I'm gonna hit X off of this. Y positive meaning the axis. So if this is the front of a house, let's say, you want the front of the house to be facing the Y positive. Not a big deal. It can be corrected later on, but if you're trying to do this 100% correct, you want it facing the correct way in Blender to begin with. So again, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Y positive is the way the front should be facing. So going back into the export, and now we're going to be getting back on track. Sorry. You can export a couple different ways to get it to import into the Workbench. What I do is I actually export directly into my project, because if you directly import into the project, you can see the updates real time. So if you make a change and you want to see the change, you would have to re-import it into the Workbench, right? So if you have the export set up somewhere else, you have to now do a couple extra steps to get it to re-import. I don't want to do that. If I'm working on something, I want this to be as quick and as smooth as I can. So you can export directly into your tutorials folder and then click and drag it into the Workbench. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm going to show you exporting it directly into the Workbench. So we're going to export into our tutorials folder. And it happens pretty quickly. So let's go into our Workbench. Go to your project folder. And then make a new folder. Mine's just going to be called YouTube model, tutorial model. And I'm just going to actually, you know what? I'm going to rename this real quick. I'm going to name it A underscore, so that way it's at the top. It's just easier to find. So open up the folder and go to where you exported to. Blender projects, tutorials. And then there is our FBX right here. So I'm going to move this to a separate screen just because it's going to be a little easier for me. So what you're going to do is click and drag your FBX into the folder. If it's a model, you're going to click as model. And you should see it say re-import in and a progress bar appear. Once it's done, it will go away. And you're going to see a few things pop up. You should see what is called an XOB file, your FBX file. I'm not sure what TXO is. And then in data, it'll be your material EMAT. So this is what applies the textures to your prefab. So we are going to open up the world editor. And then the world I use is Reforger Worlds Scenario Framework Tutorial Full. So you open that up. Actually, I'll show you. Open that up. Hit New Subscene. So make a subscene. And then you're going to name it. You're going to save and name it. Go into this here, Worlds. And then you're going to name it, hit OK, and then you can start modifying it. So I'm just going to reopen mine. There we go. So this is another world thing I'd use as well. So sorry if this is a little bit unorganized. I'm kind of going a little bit more into this than I'd planned. So go into your folder, go into or find your XOB, place it, and your object is now in the world. So what you can do is let's go back into Blender. And if we export, oh, I forgot we got a shortcut. So we're going to export. And now let's go into our project folder. And we can find that pretty easily by, if you right click on your object, hit show in folder, copy that directory, go into Blender, paste the directory, and there is your object. So now we need to choose our preset. We hit export, go back to the workbench, and you should see that it re-imported it. It doesn't look any different. We didn't do anything different to this, all right? But watch what happens if we resize it. So we have the cube selected. We're in object mode, and we hit S to scale it. We make it bigger. Then we export it. Now this isn't 100% proper, so this isn't how you properly do it. I'm just showing you an example. So we export, it re-imported, and now look, the object applied its size. So if we choose this face and we bring it out, now let's just say we do that, we make it look weird, go back to object mode, make sure it's selected, export, go back in, and now look. So you can do things, I mean, it's not real time, but it's close enough to where if you're like, oh man, this object just isn't the right size, it just needs to be a little bit bigger, you can do that. You can kind of move it. So the workflow is something you're going to have to learn what works best for you. You know, you don't want to make all the LODs and the colliders and all that, and then what am I trying to say? Start trying to make tiny minor adjustments. Make sure your object is good. Make sure it's the right size. It's the right proportions. It's all of that before you do all the extra work with colliders and LODs and stuff like that, because you have to remake those if you change the primary object. So when it comes to textures, you can do the same thing with textures. I'm not sure how texturing works with Blender 100%, but if you set up, if you go into here, you set up the textures in your material emat. Let's just say this is concrete. Save it, move in here. It's now applied it. Again, this isn't correct. This is not proper. Do not think this is the 100% right way to do all this. So if, let's just say you have custom textures, right? Your custom textures will be their own files in here. If you change those textures and you export directly into the workbench, what's going to happen is the textures should update. The material emat should then pull that updated data, and it should reapply the textures. If you have an issue where something's not updating, you unfortunately may have to go through and delete what you're trying to update for it to apply. I have had that happen a couple times, but for the most part, this has been very successful. I'm talking like 99% of the time it works. Just a couple times I've had it happen where I've exported and it didn't update, export didn't, it just wasn't working properly. So the only other thing I can think of right now, because I've already gone way over what I was planning on doing in this video, is organizing. So could you just have your objects set up like this? Yes. The XOB is here. If you make the generic entity, you know, there's your generic, I'm sorry, there's your prefab right there now. Could you leave all of this in this folder setup? To the best of my knowledge, yes. But it can get messy. It can look a little unorganized. What I would highly recommend is if you are making, let's just say, a house, and it's kind of a farm style house, right? So if we look up farmhouse, and we see the folder structure that Arma has as default, you would kind of want to follow the same structure. So notice how the textures are not in here for this. Okay, the textures are in their own folders. They're in the assets folder, I believe. Oh, I just lost that. Darn it. Hold on. Sorry. The XOB is not in here. That's in the asset file. So what I would recommend doing is trying to follow that same folder structure that Reforger uses for its stuff. There's a reason behind it probably, so let's try to follow in their footsteps, because if the developers are doing it that way, even though we all say game developers can screw up in Bohemia, sometimes it's had its issues itself. We want to make sure we're following what they're doing, because that's the way they're saying it should be done. So the point I'm getting at is, what you can do is you can right click the object and duplicate to your project folder, and then whatever you want to name it. Now you can delete it, and now you have your folder structure inside here. So it should be where is it at? Prefabs, structures, houses, farm, and you can even get rid of this folder if you want, because you're not going to have it named that. So you can name it farmhouse 01, and that you would have the items that vanilla Reforger has. So then you also want to, and I kind of did this backwards, where its XOBs are at. So you would duplicate that as well. I'm sorry, I apologize. You cannot duplicate that. You would need to duplicate its data folder. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. So in your folder, it now made this, right? So now you have asset, structure, houses, farm. You have the farmhouse that it's called folder, and then a data folder for its textures. So what you can do is you can even rename this if you want. Farmhouse 01. Oh. And now you have a data folder. You have a folder to put your XOB, to export directly your XOB. And then you have a folder for your textures. So if we delete that, right? And then let's just say we export this into that folder. Where's it at? Assets, because this is going to be the XOB, remember? So the XOB is going to go in this folder. We export it. So now there is our XOB. We need to import it at least once. And then now there's our material. So what we would do is drop our prefab down, or I'm sorry, our XOB down. Go to our prefab folder now. And then click and drag your generic entity. Call this farmhouse 01. And now you have a prefab. Again, there's other things here. There's other things to do to get this set up properly, which I'll cover in other videos. But this gets you the basic idea of the structure of what to do to get from Blender to the Workbench, and a quick, easy way to get some of the same folder structure that vanilla, the game Reforger, has. All right. I am going to call it on this video. Sorry if I got confusing towards the end. I really went down a rabbit hole of information, and I just felt it was necessary in some way to cover some of this stuff as a intro video, so that way when you watch this, some of the stuff I do later on, it makes sense, hopefully. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know. I will do my best to answer them, and go from there. So have a good rest of your day. Thank you.